The air was warm and heavy as I approached the Buddha seated beneath the ancient Bodhi tree. He gestured for me to sit, his presence calming like a still lake. Farmers Devadatta and Anuruddha stood nearby, their voices rising in heated argument. Their dispute concerned a narrow stream that divided their fields and carried water. Each claimed the right to divert the stream's course for their crops, neglecting the other's needs. The Buddha listened without interrupting, his gaze steady as the farmers presented their grievances in hurried tones. He neither nodded nor frowned, his silence an invitation for clarity. When the farmers had finished, the Buddha turned his serene face toward them and spoke softly. "What lies at the heart of your dispute?" he asked. Devadatta replied, his voice still taut with emotion. "The stream divides our fields, yet Anuruddha seeks to alter its path for his crops." Anuruddha responded with equal intensity. The disciples leaned in closer, captivated by the Buddha's poetic description of the natural world. "To honor the earth," he continued, "is to honor the very foundation of our existence and spiritual journey." The Buddha remained quiet for a moment, as if weighing their words against the depth of the earth itself. "What nourishes the stream's flow?" he asked. The farmers looked perplexed until Devadatta said, "Rain nourishes the stream, falling from the skies above." "And does rain favor one field or another?" The Buddha continued, his voice gentle yet probing. "It falls where it wills," Anuruddha conceded, his tone hesitant. The Buddha smiled faintly, his presence softening the charged air between us all. "The rain does not choose, nor does the stream." The farmers exchanged glances, their anger now tempered by the Buddha's simple observation. "To hold the stream as your possession is to forget its origin and its purpose," he added. His words settled into the space like seeds carried by the wind, seeking fertile ground to take root. The farmers began to speak anew, their voices stripped of aggression, carrying the tones of consideration. They discussed their needs and devised a plan to share the stream's water equally. The Buddha turned to me, his disciple, with eyes that seemed to hold all the waters of the earth. "Do you see?" he asked, his words like ripples across a pond. I nodded, though my understanding felt as a lotus bud feels before it blooms. "Anger clouds judgment as mud clouds water," he said. He gestured to the stream, its gentle current reflecting the sunlight. "Listen deeply to the roots beneath words. Hear suffering, not arguments. Understanding grows when judgment dissolves like sediment settling in still waters. You must be like the lotus," he said, "grounded in the earth yet reaching for the wisdom of the Dharma." The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm glow over the bamboo grove as the teaching unfolded. The Buddha remained seated beneath the Bodhi tree, his stillness encompassing more wisdom than any words could convey. I bowed before him, the knot of my own ego loosening as his presence filled the gaps within. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting its golden glow upon the land, I understood the lesson in silence. The art of listening requires not only ears but the surrender of self, the dissolution of boundaries that divide us. The farmers had learned to share water, but I had learned to share presence, to see beyond disputes to the suffering beneath. This teaching would resonate beyond the stream, traveling as far as the rain above, nourishing all it touched. The Buddha spoke once more, his voice like the first rains after a long drought. "In every stream, in every drop, flows the truth of interconnection. Remember," the Buddha concluded, "that the earth's well-being and your spiritual awakening are not separate journeys but one." As the sun set, casting long shadows across the grove, the disciples bowed deeply to their teacher. The stream continued its gentle path between us, its waters shimmering with peace. No more words were needed, yet the lesson unfolded endlessly in the depths of my heart. Another day, Another teaching unfolded as the Buddha sat under the shade of the sala trees at Jetavana Monastery. The tranquility of the morning was pierced by raised voices coming from the gathering hall nearby. A group of monks had entered into a heated argument over the interpretation of a teaching. Their faces flushed with frustration. I approached the Buddha, who remained seated with his gaze calm, as if unaffected by the turmoil. He gestured for me to sit beside him before he finally rose. Walking with a measured pace toward the hall, the arguing monks fell silent as the Buddha entered, his presence radiating stillness that diffused the tension in the air. He took a seat among them, his composure like the surface of an undisturbed pond. "What weighs upon your hearts this day?" the Buddha asked, his voice steady and inviting. One monk stepped forward and spoke with fervor. "This debate concerns the essence of your teaching. Yet it has divided us like opposing shores of a river." The Buddha listened attentively, his face neither approving nor disapproving, allowing the monk's words to flow freely. Another monk rose and, with equal intensity, countered the first argument, pointing to nuances and subtleties in the teachings. The room grew heavy again with tension, each voice carrying conviction but no space for the other. The Buddha placed his hand on a clay bowl nearby, filled with water, and held it before them. "Tell me what you see within this bowl," he said, his tone as gentle as the morning breeze. The monks observed the bowl, and one spoke hesitantly. "The water is murky, stirred by the movement it has endured." The Buddha placed the bowl down on the ground, his hands as careful as one tending to a flame. "We shall wait," he said, and silence filled the hall as all eyes turned to the stilling bowl. Minutes passed. The sediments began to settle, and the water cleared. "And now, what do you see?" he asked, his voice breaking the silence like the first drop of rain on parched soil. "The water is clear, eh?" Monk replied softly, his gaze fixed on the bowl. "Its depths are now visible." The Buddha looked to the monks, his gaze carrying the weight of timeless understanding. "When stirred by agitation, the mind, like this water, cannot see clearly," he said. "When still, it reflects truth." The monks listened, their earlier fervor replaced by reflection. Before speaking, "Still your minds as this water has stilled. In stillness, understanding can flourish." He gestured for them to form a circle and guided them into mindful breathing, inviting them to anchor their focus on each breath. The room, once filled with the clamor of disagreement, now resonated with the quiet rhythm of inhalation and exhalation. After a time, the Buddha spoke again, his voice as soft as the rustle of leaves. "Now that the waters within you are clearer, speak not to counter, but to understand." One monk began to share his perspective again, but his tone had softened, stripped of contention. Another monk responded, not with rebuttal, but with curiosity, seeking to delve deeper into the meaning behind the words. Slowly, a dialogue emerged where there had been argument, and unity grew from the roots of their shared inquiry. The Buddha observed in silence, his expression serene, his presence grounding the space in which understanding blossomed. I remained beside him, marveling at the transformation unfolding before my eyes. The shift from division to connection. He leaned toward me, his words meant not only for my ears but for all present. Words are like arrows when the mind is clouded, but like a bridge when the heart seeks harmony. The monks had reached a resolution, not through agreement, but through mutual respect. Their differences now threads in a rich tapestry of thought. They bowed to one another, their humility restoring the bonds that their disagreement had frayed. The Buddha, too, bowed his head slightly, acknowledging the effort it took to see beyond the self. As the monks dispersed, returning to their various duties, he remained seated, the clay bowl still resting on the ground beside him. I looked at the bowl, its water now undisturbed, reflecting the vast sky above. "Master," I asked, Is every conflict resolved as simply as settling water? The Buddha turned to me, his gaze reaching depths words could not touch. Conflict arises not from difference but from clinging to difference. Letting go reveals the unity beneath. His words struck a chord within me, resonating with truths I had yet to fully grasp. I felt as though the sediment within my own heart had begun to settle, revealing the clarity long obscured by restless thoughts. As the day waned, I carried the image of the clay bowl and its still water within me. The teachings of that day expanded far beyond the walls of the monastery, illuminating the path of deep listening and compassionate understanding. No further words were spoken as the sun descended, painting the skies in hues of gold and crimson. I sat beside the Buddha, the silence between us more profound than any conversation, the lesson continuing to unfold in the quiet chambers of my mind. Another day, another journey brought the Buddha to a village torn by discord between two prominent families, the Rajas and Amaras. Their enmity stretched back generations, fueled by grievances so ancient that the roots had long been forgotten. The villagers lived in fear of the feud, their lives overshadowed by the hostility that split the community in two. The Buddha arrived in the village as the morning sun painted the fields in hues of gold. His presence was like the first breath of spring, carrying a sense of possibility and renewal. A crowd gathered, curious and cautious, as the Buddha seated himself beneath a towering neem tree in the village square. Elders from both families approached him, their faces etched with suspicion and weariness. They carried the weight of their ancestors' grudges, heavy as stones. The Buddha greeted them with a gentle smile, his gaze inviting without judgment. "What is it that divides you so deeply?" the Buddha asked, his voice calm but penetrating, like a stream carving through stone. An elder from the Raja's family spoke first, his tone defensive. "The Amaras betrayed us long ago. Their words sowed deception, breaking bonds we held sacred." The elder from the Amaras countered with equal fervor. "It was the Rajas who first cast us aside, denying us what was rightfully ours." The Buddha listened without interruption, his stillness creating a space where their voices could unfold fully. When they had finished, he gestured to the gathered villagers. "Let us weave together the stories of your past. Each thread holds a part of the truth." He invited the elders from both families to recount their history, piece by piece, in the presence of all. At first, their tales were laced with accusations, their words heavy with blame. But the Buddha, with gentle questions, guided them deeper into their memories. "What was the festival like before this division began?" he asked, his tone carrying the warmth of sunlight breaking through clouds. The elders paused, their expressions softening as they recalled shared celebrations, vibrant with music, dance, and laughter. "It was a time of joy," one elder murmured, his voice touched by both nostalgia and sorrow. "What did your children play together?" the Buddha inquired further, his words like seeds seeking fertile ground. "They raced along the riverbank," another elder said, his eyes distant. The Rajas and Amaras were one in their games. As the stories unfolded, the villagers began to see not just the divisions but the bonds that once united them. The Buddha's questions revealed moments of connection hidden beneath layers of animosity. The crowd grew quiet, their shared humanity shining through the narratives like the sun emerging from behind dark clouds. The Buddha then asked, "What do you see when you look into the eyes of your neighbor today?" The elders hesitated, their gazes meeting for the first time in years. "I see the weariness of one burdened by the past," one said finally, his voice low. "I see the pain of someone who has carried loss," another admitted, his tone softened. The Buddha nodded, his expression serene yet filled with understanding. "In each other's eyes, you find not an enemy, but a reflection of your own suffering." He rose and walked toward the river that ran along the village's edge. gesturing for the crowd to follow. Standing by the water, he reached down to collect a handful of sand and let it stream through his fingers. "Grievances are like this sand," he said, his voice carrying over the gentle ripples of the river. "When held tightly, they weigh heavy. When released, they return to the earth." The villagers watched in silence, the lesson sinking into their hearts like rain into parched soil. The Buddha turned to face them, his gaze encompassing the crowd. "To mend the fabric of this village, weave new stories rooted in compassion. Remember the unity that predates division." Moved by his words, the villagers began to speak not of grievances but of hopes for reconciliation. They decided to hold a festival of renewal, inviting all to participate in rebuilding the bonds long frayed. The Buddha observed the preparations from a distance, his face serene as the villagers worked together for the first time in generations. The sound of laughter and song replaced the silence of suspicion, filling the air with a sense of possibility. As the festival unfolded, the Buddha spoke once more, his words carrying the weight of timeless wisdom. "Deep listening unveils the truth of interconnectedness. When the illusion of separation dissolves, there is no enemy, only unity." I stood beside him, the lessons of the day echoing in my mind like a river's song. The Buddha's teachings had transformed not only the village but also my understanding of conflict and harmony. The sun set over the village, its light bathing the festival in a golden glow. The Rajas and Amaras danced together, their movements a testament to the power of understanding and forgiveness. In the quiet moments that followed, I asked the Buddha, "How does one listen deeply enough to dissolve such long-standing hatred?" He turned to me, his gaze as steady as the river's flow. "To listen deeply is to listen without self, to hear the suffering beneath the words." His answer settled within me, illuminating the path forward like a lantern in the darkness. I bowed before him, carrying his teachings within my heart as we prepared to depart. The village, once divided, now stood as a testament to the power of compassion and the art of deep listening. The Buddha's words, like the river's current, would continue to shape their lives, flowing onward into the future. The disciples listened, their understanding deepened by the lived example of the villagers and their journey of renewal. The villagers sang songs of gratitude and joy, their voices blending with the rustling leaves and the songs of birds. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.